In last class, we have seen what is ASP.NET, how to create a new ASP.NET application. So the process will be like how to open ASP.NET application. First of all, what is ASP.NET? ASP.NET is a .NET server-side technology. Using this, we can develop server-side web pages. Yesterday, we created one application. The application is my web application. So instead of that, you can create a new application one more time, new project, like same yesterday application, similar like yesterday application, we are creating new project. Select language as Visual C Sharp and type of application as my ASP.NET web application. Give some name for your application, my web app new, location as D drive, some application. Okay. Now, yeah, with this process, new ASP.NET application is going to create. So by default, ASP.NET application, actually ASP.NET web application development environment will have various windows, Number one, yeah, number one, Uma, tell me. Number one, first window is what? First, there are various windows will be there, your ASP.NET application development environment. Right. Now come on, guys. Tell me.
Solution Explorer.
Yeah, first window is Solution Explorer window. Second window, Designer window.
Solution Explorer window.
Solution Explorer.
Right.
Designer.
Number one.
Source code window.
Number one, Girish. Somewhere the noise is coming. Mute yourself, guys. Where the noise is coming. Number one, Solution Explorer window.
Explorer.
You can observe right side. You have a window called Solution Explorer window, right? So as well as I think next to Designer window, next to Code window, Source window, and so on. But we observed one thing. By default, it is coming with so many files. Observed, right? And we have discussed how to add a web page.
Yes, sir.
How to add a web page? Right click, add, and the windows names we forgot to discuss. Number one, Solution Explorer window. It will contain all the project related files. Number two, Designer window. Number three, Source window. This is called a Designer window. Next we will go with what? Source window. Next, Code window. Code window is nothing but what? .cs file. Next, Toolbox window. Next, Properties window. There are various windows are there. And whenever you are developing your web application, it's better to add your page yourself. How to add a web page? Right click, select project name, open Solution Explorer, select project name, right click, add new item, and select a predefined template called web form, and yes, web form. And if you want, you can give the name to this web page. By default name is web form 1. The extension of the ASP.NET web page will be .aspx, and add. With this process, your new ASP.NET web page will be adding to the Solution Explorer. That web page name is, what is the web page name? Web form 1.aspx. Your new web page is added.
Yes.
By default, ASP.NET web page will come with actually 3 files, but in this 2 are important files. Number 1, .aspx. Number 2, .aspx.cs. Are you getting my voice?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
By default, ASP.NET, every ASP.NET web page will come with 3 files, but important files are 2 which we will use frequently. Number 1, .aspx file. Number 2, .aspx.cs file. All these are yesterday class only, last class only, what I am explaining. .aspx file will support 2 modes. And remaining about these files, you don't require to worry. Unnecessary confusion about all these files, you can remove if you want. Right, I removed all the files. Let's see, build, observed all of you. I removed except
Yes.
the references. I removed all the files. Only our page is a web form one. And every ASP.NET web page file will come by default. Will have two important files. Number one .aspx. Number two .aspx.cs. .aspx file will support two modes. Number one design mode. Number one design mode. Number two source mode. Coming to the design mode will display the designer window. Source mode, it will display the what window? Source window. In design mode, we will design your ASP.NET web page. Web page means whenever we want to design our web page, we will drag and drop the control. Whenever you drag and drop the control, concern control code will be generated in the source window. This is called source window. And .aspx source file will contain two sections. Number one, head section. Number two, body section. Body container will contain form container, div container. Here we will write the design code. Here we will write the client-side scripting called JavaScript code. And another file what we have is .aspx.cs file. It is a C#.NET class file. This class file will contain, by default it will come with one class. The class name is webform1, and super class of this every web page class is what? Page. And page is a part of a base class library called system.web.ui. And in this class file here we can write the
Servers.
server side scripting that is called C#.NET code. C#.NET code. Finally, you can say totally you will have two files. One is .aspx file, number two .aspx.cs. .aspx file source code. Source will contain two sections, head and body. Here we'll write the design code. Here we'll write the client-side scripting, and .aspx.cs file. Here we will write the server-side scripting called C#.NET code. This is the explanation which I have given in our last session. Now come back to our discussion. Next, see whatever I am explaining, every point is there in your book. Whenever you miss a session, you don't require to do any hangama. The topic you can guess what I have gone through order-wise. Next, just go through the notes and come to the class. It will be very easy for you. Each and every pinpoint is there in your notes. Next, we need to discuss about two more windows. Number one, toolbox window. We need to discuss about toolbox window. Next, we need to discuss about properties window. Properties window also we have to discuss this window. So finally we can say we need to discuss about toolbox window. We need to discuss about properties window. Coming to the toolbox window will be representing all the tools. Tool is nothing but control. So all the controls will be displayed. Okay, so here we need to understand what is a control. What is a control? So control is a predefined functionality. One second, all of you. Control is a predefined functionality. Microsoft is providing various controls. Predefined functionality means some functionality already defined by somebody like Microsoft. Every control will have its own functionality. For example, there is a control called text box. Text box functionalities will accept input from the user, will display output to the user. Button control will just accept a request or command. Okay, label control we will use to display some messages like that. Every control is a predefined functionality. Control is a predefined functionality. Every control will have its own functionality. According to our requirement, we will use controls. For example, I want have a requirement called accept input from the user. Then I'll use a control called text box. If I want to accept input from the user, I'll use a control called text box. Like drag and drop or else just double click. Consent control will be generated on designer window. In source window also you can reflect that code, control code. That is the story about control. But all these controls called text boxes, buttons, all these are defined by the Microsoft within as a predefined classes. For example, text box. For example, text box. Text box is a class. Text box, whenever you will see the IntelliSense, I'm pressing F12, it is opening the base class library. Microsoft has defined a text box as a predefined class within a base class library called system.web.ui.webcontrols. In this base class library, Microsoft defined a class called textbox. Within the textbox class, Microsoft defined textbox related properties and methods and events, everything defined. So like that, you can observe button is a predefined class. Button is a predefined class. Button is a predefined class. And this class was defined by the Microsoft within a base class library called system.web.ui.webcontrols. Next to label is a predefined class. Label is a predefined class. This class also defined by the Microsoft within a base class library called system.web.ui.webcontrols. With this we identified one thing, that is Microsoft has defined every control as a predefined class within base class library called system.web.ui.webcontrols. And within every control class like text box class contain text box related properties, methods and events. Button class will contain button related properties and methods and events. But how to use a control by the developer? Drag and drop. Whenever you drag and drop a control on your web page, it is nothing but internally it is creating object for the concerned class. For example, you take button, you take button. For example, remove this and view toolbox button. Two buttons I have created. Now button is a class. Button is a class. Button is a class. And button 1 and button 2. Button is a class. Button 1 and button 2 are nothing but objects. These objects are creating automatically, and now button 1 is class. Button is class. Button.
The screen is
Yeah. What is it? Right. Oh, screen hanging. It seems.
There is a lag in the.
Yeah. Right. Wait.
Unable
Unable to
to
see, sir. Unable, yes, sir. Unable to see your screen.
Right. Wait. Button is a class, and button 1, button 2.
Okay, sir.
Whenever I drag and drop, right, button 1 and button 2 are nothing but
Yes, sir.
objects. Button 1 and button 2 are nothing but what? Objects. And whenever you drag and drop text box, whenever you drag and drop text box, you can observe text box, right? Screen is coming slowly. We'll do one thing. Yeah, we'll log off and log in better.
Yes, sir.